What is it like to be an alcoholic? What does it look like on a normal day? I thought I understood this, but my misconception couldn't have been any bigger. Because when I was drinking, I noticed that lots of people had lots of different stories, but there was a couple things that were the same in every alcoholic I came across. Something in their daily life that had a foothold on them that they couldn't let go of. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what it is like to be an alcoholic. So if you're sitting there and you're wondering, am I an alcoholic? How do I stop drinking? What do I do? It seems like alcohol is overcoming me, but I don't really want to admit that I'm an alcoholic yet. This is the video to watch because we're going to discuss, as two alcoholics who have been through the ringer, who have gone through many days as alcoholic drinkers in the depths of addiction. And we're going to talk to you about some of the things that defined what it was like, what it's like now, and what we learned along the way, and what is actually the pivot point that took us from being in the depths of alcoholism, having alcoholic days every single day, and living a life where we didn't need alcohol anymore. So this is going to be a very important talk. Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day. We might be getting some snow here tonight for the first time this year. It's great.
All right, cool. So tell us what it was like for you as an alcoholic when you were going through, what was a normal day like? I know you were or you still are a chef. What was it like for you going to work, dealing with alcoholism and everything like that? Because for me, it was quite a bit different. I think if we're to look at our day to day, it was a bit different. And I think a lot of people are going to see that, hey, there's a lot of things that are similar and there's a lot of things that are different. And there's not one thing that defines a day in the life of an alcoholic.
I found that to be very true. Listening to many people's stories and a lot of our journeys, they seem like they follow a very different path to get to the point where alcoholism has taken over and we've hit that bottom per se. And yeah, for me, I went decades drinking. Did I drink alcoholically? It's a matter of opinion, really. Did I drank? I could say definitely that I drank somewhat heavily. Did I drink 24 hours a day for those decades? Absolutely not. No, I was able to be successful in my chefing career. I held a job. I had a home, a wife, a dog, a couple dogs, and life was good. I was able to do physical activities, cycling, hiking, walking the dog, all that stuff that we enjoy. Go to concerts, all those things. I did that for decades. And was I an alcoholic at that point? Like I said, I don't know. I definitely Alcohol was definitely a big part of my life. In fact, one of my favorite things to do every year was to go to Wine Passport in Dry Creek Valley because all these wineries close to the public. You buy tickets, there's bands, and there's themed food and all that, and it was fun. And I look back on those days and remember that those were very fun times. And I had a lot of good times while drinking. If you saw the thumbnail, there's a bunch of younger people sitting around a barbecue drinking beers on the beach. I mean, that's what I saw as far as when I was drinking. That's what drinking was all about for me, is having a good time with friends. There was a point later in my drinking where alcohol started to dominate me, and my life started to revolve around alcohol. And was it like from one day to the next where that happened? No, it was a very slow occurrence. I started to, well, I don't know. I guess looking back on it now, I noticed that I would be, I would have drinks before an event or before going out. Then I'd go have drinks during the event or whatever it was. Then I'd have drinks after. I'd be the last one there. I'd always want a little bit more. And that's kind of the way it was going for me. Now, in those last year, maybe couple years, alcohol really started to dominate me. And, I hear a lot of people, they talk about, what was my vision of an alcoholic? Well, that's the drunk downtown and they're homeless and they've lost their job, lost their family, they've lost everything. They have no money. They're begging for money. And that's kind of what a lot of people think as an alcoholic. And I know a lot of you watching realize that that's not at all the case. An alcoholic can be anybody. They can come from any walk of life. They can be rich, poor, famous, to anything. It can affect us. No one is immune to having alcohol use disorder. I mean, that's just the way it is, and I was definitely the same way. And alcohol, as I said, it began to rule me. And when it finally took its hold on me, um, everything that I did revolved around, is there going to be alcohol where I'm going? Or do I have enough alcohol in my system? Or do I have alcohol for tomorrow so I can make it through the night and wake up and not have to worry about not having it? Things like that. Do I have enough money for it? And everything else in my life started to fall by the wayside. Eventually, I wasn't driving because I didn't want to drive while drinking. So then my world became smaller and smaller. I was just at home. I'd go walk the dog. That's about it. I would go on bike rides, even though that's not very safe and probably not legal either if you've been drinking. But I was doing nothing. I'd driven my friends out of my life because I didn't want them to realize that I was drunk during the day. Because I knew if they caught me, I'd be called out on it. I might have to quit. And I enjoyed the feeling that it gave me. And that's really kind of the way it was as far as specifically how my day went as an alcoholic. I'll get into that in a little bit, but it was it was tough. It's difficult. It's very draining. Alcohol makes you tired, and on top of that, then you have the guilt knowing that alcohol is ruling my life, and that I don't know how to get out of it. Plus, I enjoyed the feeling that it gave me for those few minutes that I had that euphoric feeling before the guilt set in or I pass out or whatever it was. But what about you, Marcus? Why don't you tell a little bit about your journey since it was quite a bit different than mine?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was interesting because I worked from home and I was my own, like it was my business, so I was the boss. So there was no one really checking what I was doing or how well I was doing or anything like that. And I wasn't around anyone. All my workers were remote, except for when I had an office. And when I did have an office back then, I was pretty much drunk all the time. I remember I would get up at about 6 in the morning and, oh, hey, it's time to go to work, or 5 in the morning, time to go to work. And by get up, I mean, I would basically wake up every 2 hours because I was drinking.
Yeah.
And I would have to wake up to have a drink to go back to bed. And so I'd wake up at 6 and I'd go to the local liquor store, get enough for the day, if the fridge at the office wasn't stocked. And, luckily back then I had an intern who he was an older gentleman who was a pastor of a church, nice guy. Wasn't very like religious-y, he was just a good guy. And he helped me through a lot of the stuff, but he definitely noticed, hey, you're an alcoholic and you got some issues that's going on. Then I closed down the office, went back home to work, and this was when everything was really escalating. And I knew there was a problem, but I thought the problem was that I just wanted to drink too much. And it was very difficult. It was like, okay, it's super difficult, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to. A good day for me was how well the business did. My family, I mean, I always got along with my kids and everything. We always had fun, and luckily now they're like, hey, we didn't really notice it that much. You just fell asleep and you were depressed a lot. I wasn't one of those people that, got super angry, and even when they did, I remember one time I punched the wall, and of course we had over, I don't know, what's a 3,000 square foot house? How much wall is there? There's a lot of wall. And I, of course, had to punch where the stud was, and I broke my hand or finger here. And I remember that was about as mad as I got. Sometimes I get mad other times, but most of the time I was just really, really sad all the time, all day, every day. It was like a depression that just came over me, and it wouldn't go away. And I thought that drinking would help it go away, but it didn't. And I would muster up enough to get whatever work I had to get done that day, even though it was like, okay, if we were to compare it with Terry's stuff, it'd be like, hey, you're on the breakfast duty, you get one egg done and you feel like you've done enough for the day. That's what I mean by getting enough work done for the day, even though you got lunch service and dinner service coming up. And I was just getting behind in everything in life. I was behind in my feelings and my thoughts. I didn't know what thoughts or feelings were real. And I just basically existed day to day in damage control mode. Everything of my day was damage control. What did I screw up? What did I do to my business? What did I say to people? How did I react? And then on top of it, I know that in our rehab, they always said that alcoholism is the cousin of OCD. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. You have an obsessive nature in your brain about something. Like last night, I woke up at 3 o'clock and I'm like, I think I'm still logged into something. Even though I know it's probably a long shot that anything would happen, I'm always worried that I'm logged in or I didn't shut something off. Or when I smoke cigars, I would literally be out there in the outside area. I put the cigar out, I dump water on the cigar, and somehow I'd still think it was going to catch something on fire. It was funny, the other day, my wife was over here. She comes over to the office every once in a while, and she's helping straighten up. And there's a candle that has a little corkboard top. And she put the corkboard top on it, and I said, I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time, because I think that somehow the candle that I lit 3 days ago that's been out for 3 days will somehow burn through that and start a fire here. And so that's what OCD is like. And when I drank, it was a nightmare. It was absolute hell. There have been people in my life that have done bad things to me. Like when I was a kid, there were certain people that did bad things, and I don't like those people, right? I could not like them and still be sober and still be okay. It's like, hey, I don't like them. I'm not going to be around them. But I remember talking about what it was like in the depths of alcohol poisoning and alcohol addiction. And even in the midst of that, even people that have done, I'm like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I would not wish that on anyone in the world because of what it was like and the hell that it goes through. And I remember, Terry, you've probably heard this in the alcohol groups where they say, church is for people who don't want to go to hell. Addiction recovery is for people that went to hell and don't want to go back. Yeah. And it really is. Like, if you are dealing with that, you are not alone. If you have dealt with that, you're not alone. I know Bonnie's been on here a couple times, and she deals with it. And I'll tell you what, the hell doesn't stop the day you get sober. You have to work your way out of it. You have to climb your way back out of it. And it's difficult because the only thing you want to do is drink and go back into the lesser of the hell because you're ignoring it. Right? If I'm drunk, I can't really think about the hell. I just know it's there. And so when you climb yourself out, the difficult thing is to realize that it's not far away. And a lot of what you deal with is in your mind, like OCD. Is that candle with the cork top going to catch on fire even though it hasn't been lit for 3 days? No, it's not. Are the things in your life going to catch fire even though, you're getting sober? Not always. Like, you got legal trouble, go to the court and deal with it. It will work itself out. It might not be the best perfect situation. You might lose your license or whatever it is you got going on. Or like Bonnie, she had stated, I have grandchildren that are being born that don't know I exist. And we could take that statement and we can look at it and say, well, oh my God, that's terrible. Your grandchildren don't know. Well, most kids don't know anyone exists or anything exists till they're about 2. So you got 2 years to get sober. And even if you do miss out, like when I went to alcohol rehab, that was the longest time I had ever been away from my children since they were born. Longest time. I had never been away from them for more than maybe 3 nights, 4 nights in a row. That's it. Right? And so going away was like detrimental. I thought, okay, well, am I going to get back and have no family? Are they going to hate me? Are they going to not want to be around me? What's going on? Well, I learned that when I got sober and I lived it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to live it and I'm going to be sober, and I don't give a rip who is going to pat me on the back and praise me and give me all the things I think I deserve. Because right now, what I deserve is to be fighting alcohol. And that's what I'm going to do. And so looking at the day in the life of the alcoholic and looking at the hell and looking at where you're at now, I think is the important thing. Because Bonnie, if you look at it and other people look at it and you say, you know what, I got these things. Yeah, if you were still drinking, you wouldn't be talking to anyone. No one would know you'd exist. You'd probably end up drinking yourself into, whatever. And you look at that and it's like, well, today is better than yesterday, right? And we're starting to look at this and we're like, okay, now we're getting sober. And I'm not going to let what happened in my alcoholism rob me from what's going to happen now. Does that mean everyone should accept and, get on the bandwagon of, yay, Marcus is sober? No, that's what I should do. I shouldn't drink myself into oblivion, right? I don't need a committee to come clap that I got sober. What I need is to get sober for me and say, this is what I am doing, regardless. And it's a difficult thing to do, but I think you will find that the recovery comes so much quicker when you do it with a honest heart of, I can't live this way, I'm going to make a better life. And I think that's something that's important, because I remember when I was getting sober, I thought I was going to get sober, and I was going to get rich, and everyone was going to love me. And, that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, it's going to give me the ability. And that's what I always craved when I was drinking. I was like, I'm going to get that life. I'm going to get it, but today I need to drink. And next day, oh, I'm going to get it. I'm going to build this up. I'm going to make this life, but today I'm going to drink. And it kept kicking the can down the road and kicking me down into the pit of not being able to see my way out. And when I looked at that, that is not a way to live. That's a way to basically limp through life. And I don't have to limp through life anymore. I wake up like today, again, I'm exhausted. My assistant sent me the thing that I have been putting off for 2 weeks that I need to do, and it's as long as the road outside. And I don't want to do it. And, sometimes I struggle with things, but you know what? Do you know what today would be like if I went to the bar and got a 6-pack of light beer? It would throw me back into hell. And so I'm not going to do it. And I don't do it because people are watching. Because I have an office here 5 miles from my regular house. I went to the store last night, and it was funny because I had the thought. And I was like, I could get a bunch of booze. I don't know why CVS and Walgreens have booze. Like, get your prescriptions and get drunk, But I went there, and I went to get a seltzer water, and next to the seltzer water is the non-seltzer water. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to be pulling all night or working. I could get hammered, or I could just have one. But I know what that's going to do to my brain. Even though I'm having a bad time, I'm having a really hard time in some certain things, drinking is going to make it so much worse. It's not even funny. And it's like they always say, your best day drunk, wait, how do they say that? Your worst day sober is better than your best day drunk.
You got it.
There we go. And, you look at that, and it's so true, but it's one of those things where, like, you go into the AA room and you go into recovery, and they got the bumper sticker sobriety on the wall. It's like, let go and let God. I hate that phrase. Like, when people say that to me, I'm like, shut up. I just don't like it, because it's so cliche, and it runs over everything that we're dealing with, and it minimizes our thoughts and feelings. And it's like, just let go and let your higher power, whatever. Let him do what? Let her do what? And I look at it in a different way now, where it's like, this is life. It's like on Cuckoo's Nest when he's playing the card game, and he's like, these are the real people, Cheswick. And, the real people are the ones talking about the stuff and dealing with the things and not acting like, you know, everything is a cliche and everything is okay. And for those that works for, it's fine. Totally fine. If it helps you get sober, that's cool. For me, it didn't, because I needed something more substance. I needed something that was going to tell me, here's how to love your family after you hurt them. Here's how to talk to this person after you completely screwed something up. Here's how to get along in a marriage that was difficult when you were drinking and is not much better now that you're not. You know, like if you come in and you're like, hey, you know, you and your spouse are fighting and you want to go to the bar, let go and let God. I'm be like, yeah, I'm going to let go and let God, you know, show you my fist. Metaphorically, I'm not a fighting type person, but we understand how that works. So Terry, what are your thoughts on like what it was like in your mind when you were drinking versus now?
Well, I think you really touched on one of the major things for me, and what that was for me, um, the realization that I had to get sober for myself. Now, of course, we want to get sober for our family, our friends, our relationships, our job. There's reasons, there's things that push us towards sobriety. But for me, it really had to be because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to act better. I just wanted the pain to stop. And that's what pushed me enough to get sober. For me, I almost I had medical problems when I finally did, right before I finally did get sober, and I decided at that point, or I don't know if I really decided, but that's the point where I changed, in that okay, this has to be for me, and to do that, I had to let go of a lot of things. And you know, one of the biggest things for me when I was drinking was, what are other people thinking about me? And maybe I consciously, or I guess outwardly, I would say, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm I'm myself. I'm strong. I can do anything. Whatever. I don't care what they think. But inside, I was there. I was worried about what other people thought. I had to put on that facade that everything's okay, that nobody can know that I'm struggling with something, and I had to put that aside, because when I got sober, there was work to do. I had to do things to stay sober. I had to make sure that I wasn't going to get triggered by alcohol. I didn't know what to do. People had to show me what to do to get to stay away from those triggers, or at least push them down. And I had to learn how to stay sober. And to do that, I had to, get in touch with my feelings, which I never wanted to do in my life. I had to not worry about what other people were saying, what other people were thinking about me. I have no control over what they can do, and or what they think. And for me, even the family. My family was very supportive, and it's very, very difficult thing when the family is not supportive, or they just have cut all contact, and it's tough. And I have definitely lost some friends from getting sober, absolutely. And some of them some of those losses were not in a very positive way of just fading away. They were, they don't want to talk to me anymore, and I can't do anything about that except stay sober and do positive things in my life, take esteemable acts. And that's what I've learned, and that was probably the biggest thing in my thought process and my perspective change, is just try to be a good person. Let go of what other people are thinking, what other people are doing, unless it's affecting me personally in a negative way. Then I have to deal with it, of course, but I can still deal with those things in a positive way. And that's the kind of things that I had to do on a daily basis, and I still have to do those things. I have to let go of those things. And I've developed some very strong friendships. And even though I've only been in my area for a year and a half now, I've got some great friends, and very supportive friends. And yeah, so that's kind of the thought process that I've gone through. I did have to, like I said, I had to learn how to stay sober, and I had to learn to let go of what other people are thinking of. I'm touching the first half of that, let go, let God. But no, I just had to I had to let go of things. And that's a really difficult thing to do, especially when you're so passionate or it's family or something like that. It's really difficult thing to do. And I had to just continue to keep moving forward, do the right thing every day. It's really quite simple for me now. It wasn't so easy because we get these obsessive thoughts, and when something's negative in our life, that's what we tend to focus on. But I try to focus on the positive things in life and focus on what I'm grateful for every day. And what can I do next to maybe help somebody? It may not be a family member or somebody that's close to me, but that's what I try to do. Hold the door open for somebody at the supermarket. Little things like that. Say hello. When I'm hiking or I'm cycling, I'm always saying hello to everybody. I mean, people, I cycle with a bunch of other people. They're like, you say hi to every single person. I'm like, yes, I do. I do. Why not? We're all out here having a good time, and that's might as well share the smiles. I think it's a
Absolutely.
good thing.
Absolutely. You want to talk a little bit about our recovery course class over at
Sure. And
talksober.com?
so what I've just been talking about is a little bit about changing your perspective, and that's what I had to do is change my perspective, and that's why we've developed this course for people is to help change that perspective towards alcohol, first of all, and towards life. And that's what Marcus and I have learned to do. And that's what's allowed us to stay sober over all these years is having that positive outlook on life. And we have the sobriety program. It's 30 days, and you can do it in 30 days. You don't have to. But there's videos, there's exercises, there's what to do between one day and the next, and we'll tell you real life things that we do and we did, and that you can utilize in your life to help you stay sober. And we also have another place where you can join us for a private sobriety call, and that would be between Marcus and myself, and that's an hour-long call. And we also have a Facebook group. If you're not part of it already, you can join that. There's lots of people with good perspectives on there that can give some good advice on if you tend to have an issue. And if you do join our program, you can get a private call with me, and Marcus will join us if he can. And yeah, so go on over to talksober.com and check us out there.
Absolutely. And I think it'll help in understanding what goes on in the mind of an alcoholic, because I found that a lot of stuff was geared at people who were already sober and trying to maintain it, which is good, like this is too. And it's also geared at understanding what you're going through, understanding, hey, these are the things that are going on, and this is what we do to get through it. And here's what our mind says, and here's what, how you combat that, and how you understand how your mind works, and how what you really perceive isn't the actual reality of the situation oftentimes, and how sobriety is a lot closer than you think, right? I thought it was going to be some big, long thing. It was actually just a change of mindset and sticking to it, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand what alcohol is doing to you, and then you're like, okay, now I'm just going to fight the desire to drink. And that's what this is about, is fighting that desire to drink and understanding that the fight isn't really what you think it is. A lot of people are trying to fight a substance. The substance will always win. It has won. It will win. It's chemical. Just like if you have something at the doctor's and it makes you go to sleep. You can't fight that. I remember one time when I was young, I was probably 90 pounds on a good day. That's after eating. And I went to the doctor for a procedure, and they were like, hey, count backwards from 10. And I got to like 9, and I was out. And I was trying to fight it, right? Because I was like, okay, I'm going to fight this. I don't like it. But I couldn't fight it because it was chemically altering my brain. And that's what alcohol does. And drugs, they chemically alter your brain. And if you're fighting the chemical, you are going to lose. But if you understand, hey, you know what? This is a chemical. Here's what happens when you put the chemical in your body. End of story, done deal. I can't win. So now the battle is something else. And that's what we talk about in our program, is how to deal with the real battle, which is in your mind. And I think it's super important. So if you like our show and you want to support what we're doing, hop on over to talksober.com. You can check out all the resources there for you. There's some free stuff. There's our course here. If you want to support us, just click the yellow button, sign up right here like that. You'll get access to all that stuff right away. And we will see you guys